2022 started positively for Israel as the country reopened its borders to tourists after coronavirus was no longer considered a threat. But the threat of conflict here is almost ever present. Israel recorded a grim number of deaths this year, as the number of Israelis killed, including civilians, peaked at 31, the highest number since 2008. And it was ready to respond.
We are at the start of a challenging period. We're experienced with terrorism since the beginning of Zionism. They didn't break us then, and they will not break us now.
Following the attacks, Israeli forces conducted multiple raids inside the occupied West Bank as they suspected most of the attackers were from there. And over the course of the year, more than 100 Palestinians would end up dead. Along with the Palestinians killed in Gaza, the total death toll has surpassed 200, the highest in 16 years. And there is no sign of calm just yet.
That the incoming and new Netanyahu government will take a firmer line with regard to the West Bank and also, by the way, East Jerusalem. So you just have to look at the makeup of the new government and the various ministers, especially the ministers responsible for security affairs, whether in Jerusalem and inside Israel or the West Bank.
Palestinian-American journalist and Al Jazeera veteran Shirin Abu Akleh was in the occupied West Bank town of Jenin to cover one of those raids on the 11th of May. She was shot dead on the same day. Shirin's family and international organizations blamed the Israeli army, but the military denied any responsibility. Later in September, Israel said there is a high possibility that Shirin Abu Akleh was hit by Israeli army fire, but added that it was an accident, so no criminal investigation would be launched. In December, the Al Jazeera network handed detailed evidence to the International Criminal Court, showing Israel had deliberately killed her.
The IDF inquiry that found there was no suspicion of any crime being committed is entirely undermined by the available evidence, which has now been provided to the Office of the Prosecutor.
As the country suffered under raids and attacks, the Bennett-Lapid government caved into internal disputes in June and decided to dissolve the government. And in November, Israelis headed to polls for the 5th time in just 4 years. This year's most significant political development in Israel was the election results. Netanyahu's Likud party won 32 seats. With the backing of potential ultra-nationalist coalition partners, his bloc could number 64, enough to form a government and anti-political impasse, meaning a return to the prime minister's office for Israel's longest-serving leader. But analysts say Netanyahu has a tough job ahead.
But what actually is unfolding in front of our eyes is that Netanyahu himself is just kind of changing places. You know, that if he was portrayed to be the most extreme, one of the most extreme elements in the Israeli political game, suddenly he's become the responsible person, the person that needs to curb the rhetoric and probably the future steps that the extra right-wing members of his parliament.
2022 has been one of the most violent years of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict in well over a decade. And 2023 gives little hope, with Netanyahu leaning more and more towards a coalition with the far right. Mustafa Fatih Yavuz, World, West Jerusalem.